Now available, the Max Out Mindset Volleyball video series. 7 PowerPoint-driven sessions taught by Dr. Widman covering preparing your mind for battle, max out your mind, and max out your team. An actionable workbook with over 100 questions. Over 45 videos from some of the best athletes, coaches, teams, and leaders in the world. Numerous lessons from some of the best to coach or play in the NFL, NBA, WNBA, and the NCAA to help validate all the Max Out Mindset principles. For more info, visit maxoutmindset.com.
Welcome to the Max Out Mindset podcast with your host, Coach Jess. Jess serves as an elite mindset coach to Division I, high school and club athletes, teaching them elite mindset skills, such as confidence and composure, to put them in the best position to max out when it matters the most.
I had an opportunity to connect with Grace at Premier Nebraska. It is a top volleyball club there in Omaha. One of the really neat things I noticed about Grace is that she is an elite athlete by the way that she spends her time. So I saw her in the gym, had an opportunity to connect through a private lesson. I think she's going to share her perspective on how we met through her eyes. But I knew right away she was an elite athlete because her time, commitment, and her dedication were there.
Yeah, so Jess was one of my coaches for a private lesson for like extra reps that I was doing that day. And first I came into the gym and I just thought she was one of those like strict coaches, and that I had my whole life at Premier. And later she pulled me aside and talked to me about how my face and like my body language like affected how people viewed what like how I was thinking and how it affected other people.
And she's being honest and vulnerable. You know, it was probably hard feedback to hear when a coach comes up to you and say, "Hey, Grace, your body language sucks," right? But I think what I knew is that she was determined and she was a bit of a perfectionist. And if she didn't get it right her first time, she was frustrated. And I think a lot of athletes, Grace, probably are affected by that same scenario. And so what was really cool, Grace was humbled. She took that feedback, and then that began probably a 3 or 4 year relationship of us athlete coach. You know, now I coach at a different club here in Arizona, but Grace has kept in touch and she's super wise. And so we talk about this big topic of confidence, right? As a Purdue commit, you've been in state volleyball championships. You played on national open level stages there for the volleyball national tournaments. Big things. What's your definition of confidence and where does it stem from for you?
Yeah, I think confidence for me is just like the emotion or like thing in your head that like leads you to do things like outside of your comfort zone and do things that you normally wouldn't do. I was thinking about this a lot earlier, but when you're younger or like less confident, I guess, you know exactly like of the actions and things that you want to do, but it's not until you actually act on it that the confidence like stems from yourself, I guess. But
so what I'm hearing is that your confidence came from other external things. So through your years, you learned to gain confidence through your own, whether it be reps in the gym, whether it be your self-talk, right? So right now, you're going to be 18 in a month or so. And where would you say your confidence stems from now versus when you were, let's say, 13 or 14? Where did that confidence come from?
I think my confidence definitely comes from myself, but also other people. Like, I've had like a new opportunity for leadership during high school season. And once I had the confidence for myself, then I could put it into other people. And I don't know, confidence, I think, just comes from people's expectations and like achieving those, I guess.
Okay. When you were younger and you saw some of your heroes in the gym and you were learning all of these new skill sets, right? Where did that confidence come from? Or were you just doing it nervous all the time?
Yeah.
How did you grow that confidence to where you are today?
I think when I was younger, I was just nervous all the time and I had no idea where I was going to like end up in life or end up where I am now. And yeah, when I was younger, I didn't have any confidence, I don't think.
Well, I know that we teach, the 4 C's to an elite mindset, right? The first one is commitment. And I saw that a lot in you. Always getting private lessons, as we talked about before. You're asking questions, you're showing up, you're trying the feedback the coaches have been giving you. And then let's just say confidence wise, I really want to hone on this fact because I've seen you grow leaps and bounds in this area. From the time I met you at 15 and I said, hey, we need to work on our body language. We need to learn on our communication and just how we respond to failure. And you have surpassed every test I think that this high school season and club season has given you. You're going into your last club season and then you'll report to Indiana come this fall. So if we go a little bit deeper, we talk a lot about comparison, and comparison can hinder your confidence. Can you elaborate a little bit more on maybe a time where you had comparison hit you negatively, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, in volleyball, there's lots of people that are better than you, like lots of people. And like in life, there's people that are prettier, smarter than you. And I think when you fail, it makes those comparisons like 10 times worse. And just having confidence and to move on and not care what people think, I guess, really helps with comparisons and just knowing like what you are, I guess.
One of the things I really like is that you have displayed confidence in high pressure moments, right? Let's go back to that state volleyball tournament just about a month and a half ago. You were playing a top level, high performance team. You ended up having stats finishing with a double-double. For those that don't know, she finished double digits for kills and digs. What was it like in those pressure moments playing for a state championship and you knew that set was coming to you and your job was to terminate that ball? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you trained to do that? We talk about high performers. How did you execute in that moment when it mattered most?
So I think I was very nervous beforehand, but once I was on the court and just in the moment, I was just playing for all my teammates, and we had practiced so long before that to be able to like terminate those balls and to be able to have a chance at winning. And it went to a 5th set and we ended up losing, but it was probably one of the happiest like days of my life because of all like the joy and excitement that we had on the court.
So, and I heard a couple things I'm going to call out. You can do everything right in preparing physically and mentally towards your goal and still not get the result you want.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to call out is that you just shared that there were joyful moments and that I didn't hear any regret in what you just said.
No. Yeah.
So, I think you're a really great example of what it means to perform and train at a high level because you put in the reps, you put in the time. We go back to when our paths first crossed and you were getting extra private lessons on a skill set that maybe you weren't very good at. So kudos to you. We look at elite performers every day, and I think you have that skill of confidence, and in that confidence, you put in the time. So when you play on big stages, you can execute. And I mean, you have one last club season, and is that team going to go after some, first place, going to go after a national championship? What are those goals for club?
Gosh, I hope so. Well, right now it's really early. We've only had like 2 practices, I guess, and not everybody's been there because of other sports or other commitments, but we all are like best friends on that team. So it's just such a joy to go to practice every day and just like spend time with like my friends, I guess. I know a lot of people like say that they're best friends with their team or whatever, but like we actually like each other, I guess. Like we hang out outside of volleyball and do stuff, and yeah, so we really just like understand each other, and it's just easy to play with people who also compete and want to win as well.
So you are an example of competing and playing with a high level team. And so my big thing, how does your team help your confidence, or how could it hinder? If you have stories from playing high school or club, your 17 gold team finished last year in 17 open, tied for 5th. That's a huge accomplishment. I think the best there in Premier history in the 17 open division. And so, yeah, how does a team help your confidence?
Well, obviously, like winning, like makes your confidence go up, but when you lose, your confidence is going to be a lot less. But I think in those hard moments is when there's a lot of growth, and is where you can, I guess just grow into the game more.
Yeah. When you're down in a match and you're fighting through, right, in those pressure moments, what has a teammate said, or what has a teammate done? It might be an example of a high five, or maybe I've seen athletes pat each other's head. I don't know what that is, but what does some of your teammates do to bring your confidence up in a game, especially when it's on the line?
Yeah. So my libero for high school, she would always tell me to take a breath before serve receive. We had like that mutual understanding where we would tell each other to take breaths in those tight situations, which really calms you down and just like reassures you that the person next to you also is calm and ready for the point. Also, I love high fives. They make me so happy.
So is that, maybe we talk about arousal control for you to reset and know like, hey, it's going to be okay. Like next ball or next point. But when someone gives you a high five, what does that do to your body? Does it hype you up? Does it like chill you out? What happens to you physically?
I think both. It hypes you up because obviously you're making like physical contact with like one of your teammates, but also it calms you down because you know the person next to you also is like getting hype or whatever and like wants you to succeed.
Yeah, it sounds like trust.
Yeah.
Now, tell me this, how did you know, or how did your libero know that that's what you needed in that moment? Did you talk about it? Was it facilitated? Was it just playing years together? How'd you guys know that?
Yeah. Before the season, or during season, before season, we talked about what each other need on the court, and building those relationships helped us in the long run, because in those tight situations we had been knowing what our teammates needed that whole season. So it was kind of just like routine to make sure the person next to you needed or got what they needed.
For sure. Now, from what I hear, I think Doc actually worked with your high school volleyball team. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think with those exercises, did you feel individually prepared for those moments, and did your team, and why?
Yeah, I think so. Like those situations are very stressful, but I think just building that trust from his sessions and learning about like mentality and stuff really just helped us in the long run, and just helped me overall in volleyball and life, I guess.
Love it. Okay, so here's the question. From the time Coach Jess called you out on body language and encouraged you to change it, right? Mm-hmm. What is the one thing that you've learned maybe from our interaction? And you also had to make a choice that you were going to work on it. You could have dismissed the feedback in the moment, was like, who cares? Right? Mm-hmm. But you really, you're composed. I've seen you play. I've seen you compete. So mm-hmm. What did you do to change that from being your 15-year-old self to now? How did you really take a good look at yourself and change your attitude and your body language on the court? What'd you do?
Yeah. Well, it didn't change right away. It took a while to get to that point where I knew what I needed to do that affected my my teammates. So just like smiling, and even if I had to fake it till you make it or whatever, it helps everybody in the long run, and it helps yourself have more confidence mm-hmm. too. So
are you more of like the daily consistent or maybe weekly goals versus the big overarching goal? right? One of them was to win a state championship for your high school volleyball team. You ended up doing it with the basketball team, right?
Yeah.
And so you didn't get your goal for high school volleyball. But I just am very curious if you're more motivated by your small incremental goals or versus the big goal. What motivates you and how do you get there?
Yeah, I think the little goals, like the everyday goals, are more what drive me, especially in volleyball and especially in school, like getting good grades on tests, or like for volleyball, having a good practice or having a good lift, or just things that like that really build up into the where you can get into the bigger goals.
I like what you said. You also said goals within sport, but you said academics, also lifting. And then you have just you being a friend, you being a daughter, a sister, right? So those are really cool things. A lot of my athletes are really motivated by those small goals, which will eventually lead to those big goals.
Yeah.
I want to dive a little bit more, as we say a lot, right? You're a volleyball athlete, but that's not exactly who you are. You get to be a volleyball player, but there's so much more to you. What values, or I would say what things ground you to keep you motivated, to allow you to perform at a high level? What other things outside of volleyball are a standard for you, or what do you value?
Yeah, I think the things that ground me a lot are definitely my family. They're a very important part of my life. And within that, I think our faith from or through our family is also very important to us. And especially in like in sports, it's really easy to, I guess, forget what your goals or your stands for yourself are. But like once you put your trust in something above yourself, like in your faith, when you fail and when you struggle, things become a lot less stressful. And I guess you know that everything happens for a reason, and everything is gonna lead you to a growth and a different stage in your life.
You really do growth mentality really well, really well. And I just want to take our listeners back to a time where you and I had a chance to grab coffee over this past fall. And our conversation wasn't about stats. It wasn't about the leaderboard. It wasn't about what she's going to do when she gets to the university. It was always about impact and leadership. And so one of the reasons why we wanted to have you as a guest here on this podcast is because you've earned the right and you've done the work to be able to share what you've learned. So how important is mindset training, and how much do you think that has impacted you as an athlete?
I think it has really affected me from when I was little, not little, but 14 or 15. And when it was brought up to me that my body language was not positive, I guess, from to now, and just that growth through the sport of volleyball, it's all mind. And I've really like come to learn that, especially this year, because I've struggled a lot, but the end result has been a lot more positive and more than I would have thought for myself if I would have looked back like a year.
So the importance of mindset is pretty crucial to your growth journey as an athlete. Okay.
Yeah.
Why, and you've been on teams and also as an individual working with Max Out Mindset, why work with us? Why would an athlete call us, or a team? Why do you still pick up my call when I call you?
Yeah, I think the sense of somebody that really cares about you, and somebody that like treats you like family and really like wants to hype you up and wants you to learn about the game and learn about your mindset. It's just really important, I think. Yeah.
How have you worked through the pressure of being a top 20 recruit in the nation and being a part of, what is it, the third ranked national class, going into Purdue? Those are a lot of labels. That's a lot of pressure. How do you move through that, knowing that you're walking into a tournament and your team last year finished top 5 in the nation in open? That's a lot of pressure. How do you move and navigate just as a person and continue to be you, but not let all of that success or pressure get to you? How do you deal with
Yeah. There is a lot of pressure, but especially in, I guess, high school volleyball, there's a lot more pressure because everybody knows you as that person that is good at volleyball. But I think pressures only make you better and only make you grow into the person that, I guess, player that you want to be and like is the best version of yourself. And pressure is a privilege. So if I guess, yeah.
It is a privilege.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple of athletes right now working through some things. And so I want to know, when you talk about being an attacker and a fierce one, right? Your job is to terminate. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens, right, when you get the ball, you see the block, you know your shot, you know how to execute, and you fail? Then you get another opportunity, another great set, and then you fail. What do you do when you fail and you've been trying? How do you recorrect your mindset to try again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this happens to me so much. And it's one of the worst feelings during the play, because you know that you could have done more to get that point because you had two opportunities and messed them up. But after the next play is over, you have to then think of the next, what I do at least is I have to think of the next thing that I need to do. Like, next thing I need to do is pass a serve receive ball. If I'm hung up on the two hits that I didn't get before, then there's no way I'm going to be able to pass a good ball out of serve receive if I'm hung up. So I guess just redirecting your focus to your next task and doing your best at that next task helps to, I guess, the disappointment in yourself.
What I'm hearing is you focus, refocus.
Yeah.
Focus, refocus. And the key part is you share that you think of the next thing you need to do that matters most. And so that's one of the reasons why, I like picking your brain. You're just elite in your mindset and you don't leave room to dwindle in the past. Are you human? Do you dwell in the past? Yes. Right. That's where that high five from a teammate comes. Then you're hype and ready to go. Right. What would you say your definition of maxing out is in those crucial moments? What does max out mean to you?
I think maxing out is like playing and being at the highest level that you can be at. And that's only done through lots of, I guess, hard work in practice for your physical game, but also in your mental game. And I guess just not being afraid to fail, because failing only makes you able to know your weaknesses.
I need to write that down. That was really good. That was great. But you learn that through failing a lot. I mean, unless, are you perfect? Are you perfect?
No, not at all.
Okay. So you've failed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about failure, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on how to move through that faster?
I think failing takes a lot of time to get used to, because in the game of volleyball, you're going to fail a lot. That's just the nature of it. But I think when you understand that you're going to fail, then it's easier to move on and make that change to get better.
Grace, one of the key things I really like about you as an athlete is that you really hold your values. And one of those values is your faith, your family, right? How has your faith allowed you to continue to work through that struggle, through failure, through pressure, a highly touted recruit, a Purdue University commit. How has your faith grounded you? And when was one of those moments where you really had to lean on it?
Like I said before, just knowing when things get hard that it's going to be okay and things are going to be fine is just something that's really hard to like think about and to understand within yourself, but it also makes things a lot easier once you understand it, I guess.
One of the few things I appreciate about you, Grace, is your humbleness to put in the work, to put in the time, and to make yourself better, that it raises the team to be the best it can be. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to watch you compete on and off the volleyball court. And our phone calls after matches and Starbucks coffee, just drinking away that caffeine, but understanding we're talking about impact and legacy. And those moments of vulnerability that you showed as an athlete have really propelled you to own your body language, to own your attitude, to own your mindset, and go down as probably one of Nebraska's great pin hitters within the past decade. And so we just want to say thank you.